So clearly now we have a choice of which OAuth button we want to implement. We can do GitHub, Facebook, Instagram, Google, Twitter, or LinkedIn. I've tried a lot of them and I've pretty much figured out which ones are easy and which ones are hard. So just as a spoiler, Facebook, Instagram, and Google are very easy to do on React. It's very, very simple to get those done. Twitter, LinkedIn, and GitHub were very challenging. I spent about 6 hours trying to get one of those to work, and I couldn't get a single one to work. Facebook, Instagram, and Google are very simple, as you'll see soon. So I'm going to go ahead and again refresh our page, make sure we have what we have. And I'm going to choose to do the Facebook login. You're going to be doing Google for your project, so I'm not going to be doing Google in class, but I'm going to go ahead and do Facebook. Now, by no means are you obligated to sign up for Facebook. By no means are you obligated to sign up for a developer account or anything like that. In fact, basically, you can just follow along with this, and the steps are nearly identical to the Google ones. I think they probably based it off of each other, so they're actually almost identical. Even the fields are pretty much the same. So I'm going to go ahead and create an app. I've really zoomed in hard because I have some confidential apps inside of here that I don't want to show off. But yeah, so now I'm going to create an app ID. So this is the app name associated with my app. It says this is the display name. So let's go ahead and name it something real. Okay. Oh. CS490 lecture 12. Do I have a business account? No idea. Okay, let's create the app ID. Cool. Now it's going to ask for my security check. And after that, it's going to automatically redirect me towards to my app. And then I can go ahead and see my app up here. And I see my app ID. Okay, so I see this app ID, and this app ID is pretty much a public ID. It's not something that I have to worry about people being like misusing or anything like that. But just to be safe, I'm going to delete this app after today anyway. So my app ID is not going to be on the internet in any case. Cool. So when you first sign in, you're going to see this huge thing that says add a product. Inside of there, you're actually going to see login as the first thing inside of there. If you want to do the Facebook one, similar thing's going to happen in Google. So I'm going to go ahead and click into Facebook login. And again, all of this is happening on developers.facebook.com. That's the same as on Google. I think it's like developer.console.google.com. Then there's developer.twitter.com. Like every single one is just developer.blank.com. Okay, so now I go into Facebook login, and then I basically have to do a couple things. I have to say, yes, I want to enable the standard web, the OAuth flow, and then web-based client OAuth login. Those should be on by default, especially in Google. And then here, this is very important. You're going to see a similar thing like this in Google. It says valid OAuth redirect URIs. Basically, what this means is what pages should OAuth be allowed to redirect to? Like, what pages am I allowed to send a response to? So in our case, the response page is going to be the page that our main app is on. So this URL for Cloud9. Of course, when I go to Heroku, I'm going to have to change that URL or make a new app entirely. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste that, and then Google and Facebook are a little finicky, so you want to delete this n/, and you want to delete HTTPS. You just want HTTP inside of there. Cool. And then that's about it. Once I've done that, I'm just going to go ahead and save changes down here. Okay, and now this app token is pretty much all that I need to make it work. So let's go back to our code, and we're going to do some stuff now. So first of all, we're going to use this package called React Facebook Login. It's an NPM package, so like all those other NPM packages that we've been using, we're going to use this one. So let's go ahead and run this. I'm going to go ahead and run this. So I ran this inside my directory, same as usual. And I already have it installed, but that's what you would do normally if you wanted to get this up and running. Then it's basically saying how to use. So this is very similar to, for example, the Google login. So let me go ahead and bring the Google login here. There's an install, then how to use. The Facebook and the Google ones are very, very similar. They're almost identical, except like this one has like a cookie policy and this one doesn't. They're almost identical. And that's why I wanted to do the Facebook one, so that you still have to do some work for the Google, but it's very similar. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take this code. I'm going to bring it over. So I'm going to go into here and copy and paste here. So it looks like I already had that one, so I don't need that. But I do need the React DOM one. I don't know if it's said in here, but you actually do need to install React DOM and React. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I don't ever run commands from the internet that say -- force, so I'm going to leave out the -- force, but I'm going to do that. Okay, so that should install React and React DOM, but I'm pretty sure I have those already, but just in case, I'm going to reinstall that. The way that I do that is I just look through the top of my file and make sure that I have all of those things. Cool. Then we have response Facebook, okay. And then we have this React DOM.render. So this is the main logic. So I'm going to go ahead and move this down into here. So this is React DOM.render, but we don't need to do that because this is a function. So instead of doing that, I'm just going to return this. And I don't need all this document .get element by ID nonsense. So I'm going to get rid of that as well. Cool. Now it says an app ID in here that does not match my app ID. So I'm going to copy over my app ID into here. Auto load equals true. I don't think I want that. I don't want it to just automatically log me in whenever I go there. So let's get rid of that. And then the on click, I probably don't even need an on click. I'm assuming the on click is just default set. So I'm just going to take out the on click. And then in the callback, I actually want to do handle submit. Okay. And then I want to make sure that I actually hit the handle submit. So I'm going to do a console.log reached submit. Okay. So maybe something like this. Let's start with this and see what happens. So my debug mode is already true, so I'm going to go ahead and go in here and hard refresh the page. Ooh, now I see a new button. So this is the magic of reusing React components. So React, and the reason we're learning React in this class is because these components are already formed for us. We don't have to do any of like the, oops, my video died. Let me start that video one more time. But basically, one thing that you can keep in mind is that, like with React, you don't have to worry about like making everything from scratch. It's one of the best libraries or frameworks out there that lets you go forward without reinventing the wheel. So stuff like React Facebook login, React Google login, these things are very, very difficult to implement. But being able to just install it by running this and then writing 10 lines of code is really powerful. And that's one of the big reasons that we're learning React in this class. So getting back to this React, getting back to OAuth, let's try clicking on this and seeing what happens. This is cool. So there's a pop-up. Oh, this is very cool. So already something is happening. But it's saying can't load URL, the domain isn't included in your app's domains. To be able to load this URL, add all domains and subdomains to the app domains field in app settings. Okay, so I'm going to go into here and see what that's all about. So let's go in here, and then I'm going to go ahead and go into deauthorize callback URL. Okay, redirect URI to check. Nope, that's not it either. Let's make sure that the URL is exactly right. Yep, that looks like the same URL as before. It's saying that HTTPS is required, so I didn't see this little error. So it actually wants HTTPS. I think Google doesn't like HTTPS or something like that. So that's just a little That's just a little finicky thing. And then I'm going to make sure I saved my changes. And let's go in here and then retry inside of here. Let's see what happens. So I'm going to continue as Suresh. And it says reach submit. So this is great. So this says that something has happened. Basically, we've reached submit. Something has happened. We don't know if it's good or bad yet. So I'm going to go back into these into the code here, the documentation, and figure out how we can actually see whether it was a good thing or a bad thing. So it looks like one thing that we have is this callback. Let's see if callback actually has any parameters or anything like that. So if we go into response Facebook, it's actually saying it's taking in a response and it's doing a console log. So let's go ahead and do the same thing. So, oh, we already are doing that sort of. We're just not calling response Facebook anywhere. So instead of event now, let's get response. And then let's do an event, a console.log of the response. Okay, now I'm going to reload it and let's see what happens. So once I've already logged in, it's just going to do it automatically for me. And now look at that. That's really cool. So now this is all of the Facebook information that I might need access to. So this is how long I have to use this. This is my email address. This is my name. This is the profile picture. And this is all available to the public, basically. Like this is all stuff that you might want to, that you can use in order to, by just doing an API request. There's even a profile picture URL. I'm just going to go ahead and see if this is my profile picture. Ooh, interesting. So this is an actual image. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. Let's see if this is my profile picture. And that absolutely is my profile picture. It's a thumbnail of it. Great. So things are looking good right now. We have this object, this JSON blob, basically, that we should be able to go in and actually deal with. So now, if I just look at this, I look at name and email inside of here, this picture. So let's go ahead and take our name first. So that the name is the big one that we want. So let's go ahead and do response.name. Let's see if that works. Okay, so whenever I log in, it sends back my name. It sends back whoever the person is whose name, the name of the person who logged in. Similarly, we should be able to do console.log, and then we could do something like, instead of name, again, we had, what was it? I think picture.data.url. Sure, let's just try that out. Picture.data.url. Okay. And then I'm going to refresh and then log in one more time. And then I see this URL, and then that is where I get the actual picture. So I could use that picture to load it on my site, for example. Cool. So we have all of this stuff, and now we know how to actually get our stuff. So now one thing I can do is just replace this with response.name. So that's just going to be whatever my name was. And since I'm only using that variable once, I'm just going to put it, oh, no, sorry, I am using it twice. Okay, cool. So I'm sending my name in under new Facebook user. So let's come back to app.py. And then inside of here, if it's not John Doe, it's going to add that for me. So let's see if that logic actually works. Before I do anything, I'm going to go into pSQL. And then I'm just going to delete everything inside of, I forgot what the table's name is, but I think it was like auth or something. Auth user, okay. By the way, if you have camel case in your SQL alchemy, it's going to be converted into snake case, so that's just something that you should keep in mind. Okay, so now I've deleted everything, and then now I'm going to run the code. Now that everything is up and running, let's see what actually happens. So I might have had a syntax error or something like that. Oh, looks like I had an unexpected token. Response.name, I think that looks good. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now it says sent the name Suresh Rangesh to the server, And then I come in here and look at the Python stuff. And it's actually saying dict has no attribute name, so I guess we did something wrong here. Okay, so it looks like I had one syntax error on this line, which is I was treating this like a JavaScript dictionary instead of a Python dictionary. So I'm just going to change it to index using a key. And then let's see what happens when I click this. Okay, so it sent it. And now it's saying, okay, so it's basically saying that it's trying to put the entire object. So again, because I'm using an enum here, it's trying to put an object of type auth user type instead of the actual value of it. Okay, so the way that I'm going to do that is, so I have push new user to database, and this looks good to me on this side. But then when we actually do the database push, what I'm going to do is after my assertion, I'm going to assert that it's of type that, and then all I have to do is actually dereference the value from here. So I'm just going to say, take this class object of auth user type and then get the value. So now the app should work. Let's try it one more time. Let's log in using Facebook, and then it says I sent the name, and then I look over here. There's no errors inside of here, so let's go ahead and open a new terminal. And then inside of pSQL, I'm going to go and /c Postgres and then do select star from auth user. And boom, I already have Facebook with a new name Suresh Brangesh. So one thing that I wanted to clarify is that we are putting this stuff into a database. We're technically not allowed to do that. But for the purposes of this demo, we are going to be doing that. But like just because this is an academic exercise, but theoretically, when we signed our terms and principles with Facebook, we said that we wouldn't be putting it in a database. Given that it's just in the cloud, it's not really a big deal or anything like that, and it's just an academic exercise. But keep that in mind while you continue to use OAuth in the future. Somewhere in the fine print, it does say that you shouldn't be persisting the data. That's pretty much it for Facebook's OAuth. So you can log in using your Facebook button, and then it's very simple. You basically have this React component, and someone already made it for us, and everything is good to go. You can specify what different fields, and there's documentation on it, just like you would find for everything else, about what different fields you might want to use. You should never ask for more fields than you're going to use. So in this case, we should really be deleting email and picture because we're not using the email and picture. We should only be using the name field. Within the handle, so I guess we should be calling handle submit something else as well. We should say handle Facebook OAuth login or something like that. And one thing to keep in mind is you might see a response that's a success and you might see a response that's a failure. It is very important that you handle the failure case as well, because the failure case isn't just like there was an error or something like that. The failure case is that person decided they don't want to log in with Facebook. If the entire app breaks because someone didn't want to log in with Facebook, then that's a big problem. So you want to make sure that you're actually handling that case. Again, that's pretty much it for Facebook login. Google login is very similar. Instagram login is very similar. The other three, so that was GitHub, Twitter, and LinkedIn. All three of those got a little bit more complicated with React, and in fact, I wasn't able to figure it out for several hours.